Hello, I'm Travis Fig, and this is How Do You Figure, the show about whatever I want. Today, I want to continue my discussion of abortion. With the nomination and confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett to the U.S. Supreme Court, people wonder if abortion rights in the U.S. could be at risk. I thought it would be good to talk about the ethics and legality of abortion. I've already released my video on the ethics of abortion, and today I want to talk about the legality of abortion. I want to talk about two Supreme Court cases, Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey. I imagine most people have heard about Roe v. Wade, though they might not know what's in it. Planned Parenthood v. Casey is less well known, but it's important to understand if you're interested in this topic. Roe v. Wade was decided in 1973. The majority opinion was written by Justice Blackmun. In Roe, the court grounds the right to abortion in the right to privacy. Now, the court recognizes that there is no explicit mention of right to privacy in the U.S. Constitution. However, in a series of cases dating all the way back to the 1890s, the court had found a right to privacy in the Constitution. This right had been grounded in the First, Fourth, Fifth, Ninth, and 14th Amendments to the Constitution, as well as the penumbra to the Bill of Rights. This is the idea that having a Bill of Rights means there are some areas of human life in which the state should not intrude without good reason, and this is not necessarily limited to just what is explicitly mentioned in the Constitution. The right to privacy had previously been applied to marriage, procreation, contraception, family relationships, and childbearing. In Roe, the court decided to apply to abortion as well. A right can be limited only by a compelling state interest. So the question is, does the state have a compelling state interest in regulating abortion? The court considers whether the fetus is a person under the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment says, "No state shall deprive a person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law." This suggests that if the fetus is a person under the 14th Amendment, it is afforded certain legal rights and protections. However, the court points out that the Constitution never defines the word person, and where it uses the word person, it is most naturally interpreted to mean after birth. Second, the court points out that when personhood begins is controversial. It is something about which reasonable people disagree. It would not be fair and just, the court reasons, for the state to adopt a controversial position about when personhood begins and use it to infringe rights. However, the court finds that the state does have a compelling interest in regulating abortion. This is to promote the health of the woman and to protect future life. Now, if you watch my video on the ethics of abortion, you'll know I don't like the terminology future life here, but that's what they use in the case, so I'm going to use it. So, court concludes there is a right to an abortion, but it is not unqualified. The challenge before the court is to balance out the right to an abortion against the state's legitimate interest in regulating it. In order to solve this puzzle, the court identifies two different points along the pregnancy that are important. These are the end of the first trimester and the point of viability. Let's talk about why these are important. First, the end of the first trimester. Okay, an abortion during the first trimester is actually safer than taking the pregnancy to term. That is, if a woman gets pregnant, takes it to term, and gives birth, she is more likely to be injured or die than she is of having an abortion during the first trimester. The second point was the point of viability. This is the point after which the fetus could survive outside of the womb. This is important because the court reasons that it is at this point where we can talk about the fetus having rights independent of the woman. So in Roe, the court decides this. Abortion cannot be regulated in the first trimester. Abortion will be regulated after the first trimester for the sake of the health of the woman. And after the point of viability, the state can regulate abortion or even prohibit it except for the health and the life of the woman. In 1981, Ronald Reagan appointed Sandra Day O'Connor to the Supreme Court. This constituted a conservative shift in power on the court, which led to people wonder if abortion rights in the U.S. could be at risk. In 1992, the court decided Planned Parenthood v. Casey. The plurality opinion was written by Justices O'Connor, Kennedy, and Souter. A plurality opinion means that more justices agreed on this than anything else, even though the majority couldn't agree on anything. In Casey, they spent a lot of time talking about precedent. Precedent is the idea that the court should use past cases as guidelines to deciding future cases. This helps establish continuity through time and helps prevent the court from changing its minds simply due to political pressure. Precedent is not a command that must be obeyed absolutely, but it encourages judges to be informed when they examine their own decisions. Some things to consider, mentioned in case are, has the rule proven unworkable? Has it created special hardships? Has the law developed in other areas so as to make the old rule obsolete? And has our understanding of the essential facts changed? None of this applies to Roe. So the court says Roe is good law. However, they do make some changes. First, they decide the trimester approach, splitting the pregnancy into these 3 stages, is not needed to ensure the woman's right to choose is not overrun by the state's interest. This means that some regulation can happen during the first trimester. Second, they say the state is not prohibited from taking steps to ensure that the woman's choice is thoughtful and informed. And third, they reject strict scrutiny. Okay, in Roe, they said that the state could regulate abortions for the sake of the health of the woman after the end of the first trimester. But such policies are subject to strict scrutiny. Strict scrutiny means something must be necessary to a compelling state interest, narrowly tailored to achieving that interest, and it must use the least restrictive means possible. In a Planned Parenthood v. Casey, this is replaced with an undue burden standard. An undue burden exists if the purpose or effect of a provision is to place a substantial obstacle in the path of the woman seeking abortion before viability. So, in Planned Parenthood, they decide that the state may adopt measures designed to persuade a woman to choose childbirth over abortion, and adopt policies to protect the health and safety of the woman as long as it does not create an undue burden. The effect of Planned Parenthood v. Casey is to strengthen the state's ability to regulate abortion. It even opens the door to first trimester regulation, as long as it does not create an undue burden. Now, notice that both Planned Parenthood v. Casey and Roe v. Wade try to take into account the woman's rights, as well as interests in the future persons. They are, in a way, compromised positions. If you want a compromised position on abortion that takes into account the woman's bodily autonomy and the value of future persons, both Roe and Planned Parenthood v. Casey are trying to do that. Secondly, it's important to realize that abortion is not the only thing protected by a right to privacy. I mentioned several others earlier. So, people who are considering rejecting the right to privacy in order to make stronger regulations on abortion, they should consider that no right to privacy would mean less protection from the government intrusion in other areas as well.